You're watching the Livewell, brought to you by Rapala.
Here we go with the Livewell presented by Rapala. Tommy Sanders, Ronnie Moore here, and Ronnie coming off one of the best classics of all time at Lake Hartwell in South Carolina. We got a quick turnaround. We're staying within South Carolina and going only for the third time ever in the history of the Bassmaster Elite Series to the Santee Cooper Complex of Lakes.
Hey, with how good Lake Hartwell was in the Classic, we're going to go a little bit east of there, like you said, and this one should be just as good, if not better. We always have high expectations for these lakes, like Santee Cooper, the Florida lakes, Texas lakes. The possibility of 100 pounds for 4 days of fishing looms large, especially this time of the year. We got to taste Santee Cooper recently, but it got pushed to the fall of 2020.
Yeah.
Still put out great weights,
sure,
but it did not break 100 pounds. They are aiming for that goal this spring on 2022 season.
Yeah, it's a big, complex place. 2 lakes. Lake Marion is the biggest lake in South Carolina, 110,000 acres. Moultrie at 60,000 acres. Different, flatter, more of a bowl and everything, but it is full of giant fish. You just got to catch it at the right conditions.
Yeah, and it used to be Moultrie had a couple key areas in it that would always hold big fish, and we were wondering how many people in our top 10 in 2020 would maybe travel over there. It's not too far from the takeoff location, but who would be able to survive there? We did see Steve Kennedy do it to success and had a great event there, but we will see a predominant of our field. Most of them will be in Lake Marion, obviously, the Jacks area, all of those places that we saw factor in 2020, but it'll be a different time of the year seasonally. They will be close to spawning, if not spawning. We saw the remnants of the spawn, and that it was about to start at Lake Hartwell.
Yeah.
We know farther east, a little bit more later in the year, 2 weeks later, we should see spawning fish. But Tommy, of course, Elite Series comes to town, rain and a cold front in practice leading into that event.
Yeah, could mess it up a little bit. And one thing you might want to keep in mind, what Davey Height, who lives right around there, tells us again and again, the key to this is not trying to take on the entire complex. Stake out a region and make it work. Just make sure you make the right choice.
Yeah, and make sure if you weren't on the Elite Series in 2020 that you take a portion of your practice time and learn to navigate that place.
Yes.
Getting around the boat lanes is difficult, but if you can figure out how to do it, it'll save you a whole lot of time in the tournament. But Tommy, I would expect, we mentioned it, the spawning fish aspect, anytime this time of year, they're going to be shallow. We're going to see those guys who either opt for finesse presentations, like maybe a wacky rig or a stick bait of that nature, maybe a spinning rod. We saw some anglers mix that up in the fall.
Yeah.
We should see that a little bit. Some other things I should see. Maybe remnants of maybe a topwater bite will start to form. We see it in Florida around the spawn. Prop baits work well around cypress trees, around a little bit of floating vegetation. We should see some of that. But I would expect, other than soft plastics on the bed, we could see a moving bait, maybe a square bill, a crankbait of some sort, maybe a DT6 at the deepest in that Jacks Creek region, or where Brandon Polinick found his success later in the event.
All right, as to the weather, you mentioned some unstable weather in the days leading up to the tournament. The 4 days of fishing there look pretty good. The wind's not too much. March winds may not blow too hard, which can make it very easy to get across the big water, which can be a problem.
This will be one of those things where I feel like the tournament gets better each day. With that colder temperatures leading into the event, a little bit of rain, these anglers might not be able to see fish on the bed. The weather may impact that watercolor some, but throughout the week, the weather, like you said, gets better. I think these guys are going to be able to figure it out a little more each day. It might be a back-loaded weight event.
The Guaranteed Rate Bassmaster Elite at the Santee Cooper Lakes, March 17, 18, 19, and 20, all right here on Bassmaster.com.